All right, last but certainly not least, we have Sam's question on what is the coolest plant in the world, and I could not resist answering this one, even if it is an impossible question to answer. There are so many different types of wonderful plants, and I couldn't choose just one, but I pulled out some of the ones that I think are the coolest, and I hope you like them too. My work mostly centers around trees, so I'm a little biased, and that's where I'm going to start. There are, of course, the biggest trees in the world, and these are the giant sequoias in California. These trees are the largest individual trees by volume and can be absolutely massive. The biggest is General Sherman, which is 1,487 cubic meters in volume. The largest organism in the world, though, is considered a grove of quaking aspen trees, which are all clones, and that's in Utah, and it's called Pando. Aspens can spread by creating new shoots from their roots, and this ultimately leads to there being multiple trees that are all genetically identical and which share a root system. Pando is thousands of years old, covers 106 acres, and includes around 47,000 trees. This brings me to the oldest trees in the world, which are Bristol cone pines, and the oldest of these Bristol cone pines is called the Methuselah tree, and it's estimated to be over 4,700 years old. Aside from these record holders, there are so many plants that have really unique and incredible life strategies. For example, you can get plants which have evolved to mimic animals. The Orchid orchids are a classic example of this kind of mimicry, where some species have flowers which look remarkably like the bees that pollinate them, and that can produce similar chemical signals to those bees. In some species, this has evolved because bees, particularly male bees, will be drawn to what they think is another bee but is actually a flower. And the bees act as pollinators when they go from flower to flower. There are also plants called carrion flowers or corpse flowers which are designed to attract scavenging beetles and flies, and so they often look and smell like rotting flesh. Rafflesia arnoldi, a plant found in Indonesia, falls into this category, and it has the largest flowers in the world. A single flower can be 3 feet across and weigh around 15 pounds or just over a stone. The Titan arum plant from Sumatra is another carrion flower, which produces some of the largest flowers in the world, though flower is technically the wrong term here because the purple structure that I'm referring to is actually the inflorescence, which is basically just a cluster of tiny flowers. These flowering structures can reach over 3 meters tall. Then there are carnivorous plants, and these include plants like the Venus flytrap, which you've probably heard of. These plants usually live in nutrient-poor soil and so get some extra nutrients by trapping and digesting animals. The prey of these plants is usually invertebrates, but some larger species, like this pitcher plant, are large enough to catch small rodents. Some other really cool plants are strangler trees, which include Ficus and Clusia species. These plants will start to grow on and over another host tree, slowly strangling it and taking over. A more specific example of a strangler tree are the banyan trees, and these trees are especially cool because they'll form aerial roots, which extend from the tree branches to the ground. Some other really incredible plants are epiphytic air plants such as Tillandsia species, and these plants don't need soil to grow, so you'll often see them growing from branches of other trees or even from fences and telephone wires in tropical areas. And then of course there's the mimosa plant, which folds its leaves and drops its branches when it's touched to prevent it from being damaged or eaten. Lastly, there are just some really cool looking plants that I love. There are the living rock plants from South Africa, which disguise themselves as rocks. And there are dragon blood trees, which grow in the Socotra Island and not only look really cool, but have bright red sap, which is where they get their name. And last but not least, there are these, which are the largest water lilies in the world. They're found in the Amazon and are the national plant of Guyana. They're so big that children can sit in and float on them.